Welcome to Home Built Workshop. Today we're going to build this cool little box to hold the pencil sharpener. So today's project's a fun little project. It's actually one that my daughter and I came up with. We'd recently gotten a battery operated pencil sharpener and we didn't have any luck with that thing. That thing was junk. So we went out and we got a regular pencil sharpener, one of the old school ones that you put the pencil in and you turn the crank. We came up with the idea that it would be kind of cool to build a box that would conceal the pencil sharpener, something you could open up, sharpen your pencil, and close back up and kind of make it like a secret pencil sharpener box. So I thought this would be a cool project that I could somehow involve her in helping me create this thing. So I think what we're going to do is I'm going to build this thing and then she's going to help me paint it up. So I'm just going to take a couple of minutes and play around with the idea just to make sure that these pieces that I have will work. I actually think both of these scraps that I have on hand will work just fine. Next, I'll lower my blade to half the thickness of the plywood and I'll make several small passes to create a dado to accept the shelf. And once I get it cut close, I'll clean it up with a file so I can get a nice tight fit. I actually had to do this piece twice because the first time I cut it a little bit too wide. Take your time, make sure you get a nice snug fit. Perfect. Nice snug fit. Now I'm just going to use some wood glue and glue in that shelf. I'll check for square. Bam. Perfect. I'm kind of working a little bit backwards on this project. I'm not 100% sure of all the dimensions. So as I glue in this shelf, I've left the rest of the piece really long. I'm going to trim that down as we get a little bit closer to being done. Now I'll just assemble those pieces to form part of a box using some glue and some pin nails. I'll use a few clamps to help hold everything into place. Now I've got part of a box. This piece is what's actually going to cover the pencil sharpener. It's going to sit on here and it's going to hinge up. Now I need to get those hinges mounted. The hinges I'm using are a type of flush mount cabinet hinge. In order to get the spacing right, I need to cut a small spacer block that's going to fit inside this box. Also, now that I know the size of the box, I'll trim down the board that'll mount to the wall. Now I need to glue in this spacer block. When the box is open, the block needs to sit right here and the hinges are going to mount to the block and then to the back of the box. In order to get it in the right spot, what I'm going to do is set it back, slide the box down, which should collect that spacer block, and pull it down to where it needs to be. Then I'll carefully open it up, and that's where that spacer block needs to go. For the hinges, I'll line up a scrap piece of wood that's the same thickness as the spacer block. I'll mark the holes. It's a little bit tricky to get into. I'm only going to mount it with a couple of screws for right now. A long-handled screwdriver makes it a little easier to get in there along the edge of the box. Once I have a couple screws in, let's see if it works. Got a little gap right here. That's okay. I mounted the screws in the adjustable slotted portion so that I can adjust that hinge. Now with the hinges installed, I have a box that actually opens. These hinges are spring loaded, so what I'm afraid of is that they want to spring closed and they're going to pinch some fingers. So I picked up some of these soft close door dampers that I'm going to attach to the back of the box. Hopefully that'll be just enough to prevent any fingers from getting pinched in this thing. And I'll do that by cutting a small spacer block out on the bandsaw. Nothing too precise, it's just a spacer for the damper. I'll use the screw to mark the hole. The screw for the damper mounts at an angle. That's why I'm drilling it at an angle. Now a partially used roll of electrical tape, I'll mark out some corners so I can round them off. Now that I've got the hardware removed, one thing I need to do is fill the edge of one side of this plywood. This side is nice and smooth, but I didn't choose this piece very well. I should have trimmed this side down before I started assembling it, and there's some voids and gaps in the plywood. I'm going to fill those really quick. I'm not too worried about the look of the filler because I am going to paint this. I'm just going to use some of this plastic wood filler. I've had this can around for years and it was all dried out, so I had to add a little bit of acetone to the filler itself to get it to a consistency that I could use it. Acetone kind of helps thin it out. There's not much of a science here. I'm just scooping a little bit out and filling in the holes. I'm really not a big fan of using wood filler and I try to avoid it whenever I can. Some applications I think it's just fine, and this is one of them. As soon as the filler is dried, I'll just sand it all down with my random orbit sander. After a little bit of hand sanding to clean up the edges, I'll wipe it down with a rag. Then I'll brush on the first coat of white paint. This is just the base. Once this first coat of paint is dry, I'm going to sand it lightly and apply another coat. Now I'll let this coat of paint dry overnight. We're going to break out the acrylic paints and go to town. I knew during this portion of it, I would have no trouble getting Haley involved in helping me paint it up.
Not a green blob, a smiley.
Alright, we'll make a green head.
Make us a...
Don't make it right there after I already started making it right there.
And then we're going to paint all over it.
Yep. That's the plan. Now the acrylic paint's dry, I'm going to seal that up with some clear satin polyurethane. All that's left to do is mark the holes for the pencil sharpener, pre-drill, and mount them. And then I'll just reinstall all the hardware. It's all back together. Now we can pop it open, sharpen a pencil, close it up. And lastly, I'll use a center finding ruler to lay out and mark the hole to mount the knob that'll be used to open it. Not every project you always build has to be 100% fine furniture or something like that. It is perfectly fine to build whatever the heck you want for whatever the heck reason you want to build it for. Just build something, and that's the case with this project. It was a fun project, not really necessary by any means, but I was able to involve my daughter in helping me in the shop, which to me is really awesome. That to me is more valuable than what we're creating. Just having a little bit of time to work on something together. So guys, thanks a lot for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you do, please click the thumbs up button. Also, don't forget to subscribe to my channel so you don't miss any episodes. Also, if you really enjoyed this video and you really want to help me out, go ahead and share this on social media, on Facebook, Twitter, whatever social media platform you choose to use. I really would appreciate it if you would share any of my videos that you enjoy. You can also follow me on social media. I'll put all the links down below in the description. So until next time, thanks a lot for watching, and we'll see you later. Now I can't get the shelf out. That's like a super snug fit. Ah, hammer. Always helps. Paint on my hand. Haven't got it on my shirt yet. Just wait. Wait for it.
I'm making a green and yellow anaconda, but there's gonna be green after this.
A green and yellow anaconda?
Yeah,
I like it.
orange.
Gotta get the door opened up there so I don't choke and die on camera. I don't need that kind of outtake. Yeah, right out the window. Boo! Somehow this screwdriver got bent and I have no idea how that happened, but it sure makes it tricky trying to drive in screws.